The text presents a scenario in which prominent members of the Loki familia gather to discuss alliances necessary for an important expedition. In the midst of a bustling bar, Loki, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth analyze which factions could bolster their fighting force. The central point of discussion revolves around the Hestia familia, which, despite its small size, possesses two first-class adventurers, something difficult to ignore in any high-risk operation. Bel Cranel, now level 5, draws attention for his impressive evolution and for possessing power capable of even rivaling the strongest warrior in ORATOry. Still, his lack of experience and the natural immaturity of an adventurer who has ascended too quickly are factors that worry the group. The internal discrepancy in strength within the Hestia familia itself is also seen as a major obstacle, as its members are not yet prepared to explore deep levels of the dungeon. Another important point raised is the difficulty of coordination between the adventurers of the two factions. Historically, Bel had disagreements with some members of the Loki familia, especially Bet, and forcing cooperation could generate dangerous tensions during the expedition. As promising as the union seemed, there were a number of risks that could not be ignored. While Riveria coldly assessed the situation and Finn pondered the possibilities, Loki reacted with growing irritation, uncomfortable with the idea of needing the help of the dwarf goddess. Despite this, everyone recognized that, due to force majeure, it might be inevitable to consider her. The conversation in the bar continued tense and full of divergent opinions as Finn, Riveria, Gareth, and Loki carefully evaluated which allies to invite to the expedition. The Hestia familia naturally emerged as an important option, not only because of Bel Cranel's strength, now level 5, but also because of the strategic potential of adventurers like Harrowheim. Still, Loki insisted on vehemently rejecting the idea, making clear his personal aversion to the goddess Hestia, a conflict as emotional as it was childish. Meanwhile, the three level 7 leaders remained focused on the mission, considering individual strength and the overall balance of the team. The group also recognized that, despite Bel's talent, her faction was still small, inexperienced, and heterogeneous. The drastic difference in strength between its members could become a serious obstacle in such a deep incursion. Furthermore, old conflicts, especially those involving Bet, made cooperation even more delicate. Finn weighed these details pragmatically, calculating not only raw power but also compatibility and safety. The discussion extended to other potential allies, with Riveria mentioning the names of exceptional adventurers who could strengthen the expedition without bringing the same synergy problems. Loki, however, continued to oscillate between frustration, jealousy, and pure resentment, exploding whenever the name of a talented adventurer from the Hestia familia was mentioned. Her irritation reached the point of attracting the uncomfortable attention of the tavern employees, who no longer knew whether to fear her presence or lament the tragedy of having her as a customer. Despite Loki's emotional turmoil, Finn and the others maintained their composure. They coldly analyzed risks, resources, and relationships between factions, recognizing that, even though it was a task imposed by the guild, forcing fragile alliances could generate bigger problems within the dungeon. Still, they understood that, due to the weight of the mission, refusals and personal rivalries could not prevail over the need to assemble the most efficient group possible. The conversation flowed between careful considerations, accumulated frustrations, and memories of past incidents, while night fell and the bar filled with curious glances. And it was in this atmosphere, a mixture of pragmatism and tension, that the group finally awaited the arrival of someone important, a figure whose involvement could change the course of the negotiations. When the young woman finally appeared before them, the atmosphere in the bar changed subtly, but evidently. Even amidst suspicious glances, her demeanor was calm, almost indifferent, as if she were accustomed to being the target of tensions that no longer belonged to her. She didn't come as a representative of any powerful faction, nor as a frontline warrior. She presented herself simply as a city girl, someone who had returned to an ordinary life after conflicts that left deep scars on everyone involved. Despite her apparent simplicity, her presence carried a weight that Finn and the others immediately recognized. She was an essential piece in understanding the current political situation and a potential bridge between groups that, until recently, were in direct conflict. The tavern attendants, defeated faction companions, observed everything with coldness and wounded pride, creating a silent tension that spread through the atmosphere like a thick fog. Finn was the first to break the silence, not with authority, but with the strategic calm for which he was known. He explained the reasons for the search directly, highlighting the urgency of the expedition and the need for reliable alliances, even between previously rival factions. Riveria and Gareth followed with firm expressions, attentive to every nuance. They knew that any poorly chosen word could end any chance of cooperation there. The girl's presence, however, changed the balance of the conversation. She did not carry the explicit resentment that the other attendants demonstrated, but she also did not offer immediate trust. It was evident that she carefully analyzed every gesture, every tone, like someone accustomed to dealing with constant losses and pressures. Still, there was a subtle openness in her gaze, as if she recognized the weight of the responsibility she was about to assume. Gradually, the dialogue ceased to be a formality and transformed into a genuine exchange. She listened, evaluated, and responded with surprising objectivity. Finn, noticing this, kept the conversation flowing in a firm and respectful manner, directly addressing the challenges and expectations of the alliance. Gradually, even the hostile glances of the servants began to lose strength, not out of sympathy, but because they realized that this interaction was inevitable for the city's future. When the discussion finally moved on to the critical details, it became clear to everyone that the negotiations would require much more than brute force or reputation. Subtlety, diplomacy, and a deep understanding of the fragile ties that still bound and separated the factions of ORATOry would be necessary. And so, in that tavern marked by memories and old rivalries, Finn and his companions took the first step towards an unlikely alliance, guided not by blind trust, but by the need to face a future that none of them could face alone.